The Black 14 incident occurred October 17th, 1969. And looking at the years that had passed by and the impression we had back in 69, none of us would have predicted that we would be standing in this building today.
1969, the Black 14 incident was very stressful and disheartening for me. It changed my life substantially, but it also gave me an idea of what I needed to do to progress and continue to go on. As the years has gone on, I've realized the universe has a lot to do with what's going to happen, so it was meant for a reason. By being part of the Summer Social Institute, it has brought a lot of young individuals together that otherwise would not have gotten the opportunity to come here.
The Black 14 had a genesis, but not an exodus. A journey that began in 1967 and through 1969. Playing in a game against BYU at Provo was the catalyst to what we now have experienced and have named the Black 14. A lot of history has been told in the last few days. The evolution of and I say evolution, not revolution, of the Social Justice Institute has been huge. It's even going to another level with new leadership in place. And as it does, what we look forward to is how we can contribute to making a difference from a diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint in the lives of those that we didn't even know, that may see this as a catalyst or an icon or a beacon that guides them in their educational pursuit.
My name is Benny Boyd. I'm an assistant football coach with the football program. I coach the corners and co-coordinate special teams.
Sean Vanderbilt, special assistant coach to the head coach, men's basketball.
To me, anytime you can be a part of history like this, I think it's impactful. It's more personal because I've gotten to know these gentlemen on a personal basis. So to be able to represent the football program, to help another generation of young people learn, and again, just to be present with the members of the Black 14, it was powerful, and I appreciate the opportunity.
You know, the biggest thing is with every generation, the blessing of the knowledge of who came before you. And, you know, just like Coach Boyd explained, hearing stories from his great-grandfather, his grandfather's father, you know, you lose sight of what their struggle really was. You know, the segregation part of it, the breaking down the walls and the barriers. And that's the thing that I think today's young people of all colors need to be constantly reminded of. And we can't let that be taken away from us in this country.
Last year I was a student, and I fell in love with the program. I fell in love with the work that we do, and fell in love with the members of Black 14 and their story and learning about their story. So I really wanted to come back and be a part of that, but for other kids. And I love getting to watch their thought process, and you can kind of see the lights go on when they're listening to the Black 14 and listening to the stories. It's a really cool experience.
I was a mentor last year as well, and I've been a student, so I've been on campus, on and off campus since 2014. And so for me, I think it was like a full circle moment, and, you know, kind of giving back to the community and to the people and to the university that gave so much to me. So it meant a lot for me to be a mentor.
I think I definitely learned a lot just from hearing the members of the Black 14 talk. John and Guillermo Heisel definitely have a wealth of knowledge, but mostly what was impactful to me is how the incident at the University of Wyoming kind of changed their outlook on life. Guillermo was telling me about, we had a long conversation about how our society is organized and kind of his view on that. And he walked me through some books that he's read and told me to look up and research Plato's Republic. And I did, and it was really nice to kind of see him talk about, okay, so I had this traumatic experience in my life and it changed my outlook, and now here's where I'm looking at, and I want you to look here too. And when I looked at it and I thought about it, it was eye-opening, and it was something I wanted to delve deeper into.
After the coach had berated us that morning, we all decided individually, and we never talked about this, but years later, decades later, we talked about it. And to a player, our takeaway was we were not going to be defined by that day. We didn't know what that was going to look like because the age range was 19 to 22. What do we know? What did we know back then? Not much. But what we did know is that he is not going to dictate our future to us. And, you know, if you think about it, 11 out of 14 received degrees, some advanced degrees. We have school teachers, we have principals, we have corporate guys who've done exceedingly well, and I'm one of them. Everybody had a piece of their history that came out positive, if that makes sense. Because Eden said to us, you guys will never amount to anything. You will be on public assistance for the rest of your days. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said to us. You don't know your fathers. I knew my father. You know, what are you talking about? But that was his calculation. That was his calculus, that we were going to be on the streets of somewhere peddling. Well, that didn't happen.
I didn't really come into this program with any expectations. I have never, in such a closed environment, worked with high schoolers, especially American high schoolers. But I think especially just from my group and the restorative justice circles, I've watched them grow into who they are. Like today, who they were on the first date is definitely not who they are today. I've watched them use their voice more, be more open. And something we talked about in our restorative justice today is most of them come from societies where people in those societies are deemed as useless or nothing good is ever going to come out of them. And they talk so much about how they want to be that change in their communities. You know, they want to be that 1 in 100 who becomes what is not, expected of that community. And I think that's just very inspirational.
Sports was a way for me to get to school. So when that incident happened in '69, it was a big letdown, to say the least. I was scared, frightened, didn't know what was going to happen next, until which time I called my dad. And after I talked to my father, and he said, Dowdy, which is a nickname I have, I'm sorry about that, but he said, Dowdy, we'll get you through this. And from that time on, I was comfortable with what I stood up for. I always was comfortable because I was taught from a very young age to stand on what you believe and believe what you believe and stand on what you believe. And don't let anyone take that away from you. One thing that they taught us was education is something that never could be taken away. So when Coach Eaton took that from us, and it just destroyed my inner being at that time.
When the people in the Black 14 and also the speakers we've had like Zebediah Hall, when they spoke about their past experiences in their lives, I feel like that's gonna be some of the stuff that like really sticks with me throughout my life. Like Guillermo and Grimes, when they were talking about how they had to have the courage to step up and really basically give up the sport they love. Not give it up, but like basically give up the sport they love at the collegiate level, D1, 12th in the nation like the team was, for something they believed in was really inspirational, coming from somebody who knows what the love of the sport is like. And from Zebediah Hall, something that I really took home is when he talked about kind of his upbringing, how he was a really good basketball player in high school, but he kind of didn't take school as seriously as he should have. But seeing that he's at this place in his life right now because he was able to work really hard in his academics, it shows that even if you have a slow start in life, if you work hard academically, that you can get anywhere.
The University of Wyoming is the land grant in Flagship University. And so that gives me the ability to not only do work for the university, it helps me work throughout the state. And for me, I think you need to be a part of your community. It's one thing to work in the community, it's another thing to be a part of it. And being the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion gives me the ability to serve the university, but also the state of Wyoming. And this is the only place and the only state in the United States that have one 4-year institution. And that was really salient to me. One of the things that's important to me is I have 5 sisters. And to know that this is the equality state, to be the first state to allow women to vote is so important. And so we've been doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work way before Zebediah stepped in this space. And to be the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Wyoming in the equality state means I have a responsibility and a duty to not only the university, but the state to serve them in such a way that everybody feels like they belong and matter. And that's what's important to me.
I really like that our final project is the photo voice, because I feel like being able to, like as a final project, being able to just take pictures of our experiences is a really hands-on thing to show what we have learned. And I really loved all the different, like, I wouldn't say they were lectures, but lessons that we've gotten. I thought that it would be similar to school, but all of the lectures have been pretty, like, interesting. Like, I really enjoyed them. We just had kind of like a lesson on like identity, I would say, and it really helped me to realize that I don't need to hide my personality for other people, and I don't need to hide my passion just to make other people feel satisfied or happy. And that's one takeaway from that lesson that I really liked, and I think I will be putting that in my project because I did take a picture of that lesson.
Yeah, I really like the photo voice work too, because instead of just like writing an essay about like, oh, how'd you feel taking the camp, you get to take photos, be very hands-on, and it's just basically talking about how you feel personally instead of just like a very impersonal essay or something like that.
To have the opportunity to be there, everybody that takes history and gives a place in yourself and for future generations, that I can teach my children, and maybe one day my children will say, well, my grandmother met the Black 14. I don't know. And made a video about the Black 14. And it's a really big deal to me.
That gives me hope that we have students who really care about history and care about diversity. And blending the two together, it just doesn't go any better than that. And I'm so glad that and grateful that I'm able to come up here and participate with them and see them smile and see them happy and see them interact with each other. And also, while they're interacting, they're talking about what they were learning. It's just not play. They have a good time having fun, but they take this very seriously. And that's the other added plus, that these students, and I'm sure students in the future, are going to come up here and have fun, and yet they're going to take this seriously.
I think this environment with like-minded individuals has taught them that there's power in their voice and they need to be more confident about using that power.
But I also hope that they keep righting wrongs and hopefully teach this history, because it's not taught, and that's unfortunate. It should be. I hope it's part of the curriculum. I hope it becomes part of Wyoming History's classes, where you learn about the Black 14, but you also learn their names, and you learn what they did after and what they did before, and you learn about them, not just the awful incident that happened, but them, their stories, them as people.
For me, it's like learning about the Black 14 and like seeing these members in person, and like knowing their history and knowing what they went through and like how this changed Black history. Like getting to know and be like in their presence has been like really rewarding for me.
So me and my sister were a part of Black Student Union, which we started at our school last year. So I wanted to be able to learn more, to be able to bring awareness and to bring like just information to the Black students at our school, so we know our history and we know we're educated about certain things in our community. So just that.
Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot about myself and my peers. I'm a very social person, so I think it's very fun just being around other kids that look like me. And I'm looking forward to just kind of learning what I can do to change the world and just, have fun, make things a better place, meet new people, just a good experience.
I would expect the kids to go into leadership roles and have voices for those who don't really know how to articulate their problems, nor go to people who know how to really express what's wrong or how to solve certain problems. That's what I have to say about that.
So an impact that the Black 14 had on me was from last year more of and this year, and it was a lot on forgiveness. I remember last year asking John and Lionel, would you recommend the school for me, knowing what you had been through and knowing that there's not that much of diversity, and me being a Black woman trying to go into law, and both of them kept saying yes, and I was a little confused because of the history behind it, and I was so certain going into it that they would have a little bit of hatred for the school enough to say no, but they were like no, like there was this forgiveness in their eyes, and the way they talked about the school, it didn't sound like they had this hatred for them, and it was like pure forgiveness, and I was like, wow, like if you can forgive, I know I can too.
I wasn't very aware of Black 14 before I came here. I'm very lucky that I also got to experience the Black 14, but it's like now I can continue to spread the history that I've learned here, and it won't just remain with me and people in Wyoming, but it will also go back to people in Colorado, my family members, my friends there, and in other places that I'm also belong, because I don't only belong to Colorado, but I'm also of African descent, so I also have African relatives that I could continue to spread this knowledge about. It doesn't just stop with me, but it continues with me.
Exactly what it says, Black 14. I'm very invested in it now since obviously my uncle was one of the Black 14. So I'm just very, very interested, learned a lot about it last year. So I have a good feel for it now. It's just very interesting to me now, especially because it's Black history. I've made a lot of new connections with people, athletes, the women are great. Everyone's great, new people. They all have different hobbies. I'm not used to it. I'm used to Alliance is a really small city, so I'm used to everyone kind of being similar. Everyone here is way different. It's nice meeting new people.
I was proud, like after the outcome, like how they answered to it and they finally got recognized. But it hurt me that someone in my family had to go through something like that, especially someone so close to me. So it's definitely a different type of feeling.
Learning about their history was impactful because I'm a Black man in America. I played college football. It became more impactful when I learned about a place that I work and now call home. And to know that this was part of our history, it was impactful. And then to know that people that I'm fortunate to work with now were a part of righting the wrongs that happened. It makes me proud to be a part of the football program, and again, I'm proud to be associated with the Black 14.
It's amazing to be in space and time and physically meet some of the Black 14. I understand that I stand on their shoulders. Without their experience, I might not be here as the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And for me to be able to understand what happened to them and them to be able to come back and talk to juniors and seniors in high school, it's so amazing for us to be doing that at the University of Wyoming.
Growing up in Casper, I wasn't around any diversity. I was just around a bunch of white people, which is not to say that's a bad thing, but for me being Black, I'm always walking around and I'm different, everywhere I go. And so being able to walk around just the house and being able to not be different is so relaxing and nice. It's like a weight off my shoulders. I don't know how to explain it though.
I just want to say thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, sorry.
Thank
you. I did not mean to interrupt you.
But yeah, just thank you, because the way they have just opened my eyes and made me look not just within myself, but then just to the people around me. I'm just very thankful for it.
It's I can't even imagine why they would want to come back here,
like when I first heard there were going to be actual members we were meeting at this camp, I was like, why would they want to do this? You know, like if I was in that situation, I would try to put myself as far away from it as I possibly could. So the fact that they're doing this, like, it's so much, like, I'm so grateful and so thankful. It's like, this is like gold coming out of their mouths, you know, like.
You're learning so much in like such a short amount of time. So I also want to say thank you. Thank you for showing us that vulnerability is okay, and that it shows strength and growth. And I really appreciate that, because I don't think I'm a very vulnerable person, but I think I will try to be in the future to, you know, better myself.
Yeah, I would also just say thank you, because it's just been such a great experience. I've learned so much in even just the few days that we've been here. And I feel like I have changed in just such a short amount of time, and it is such like a powerful experience seeing them come back where something like that did happen. So yeah, thank you.
I have a chance to be on Zoom and phone calls with members of the Black 14, to physically be able to shake some of their hands. I played college basketball, not college football, but to understand they are a part of our breakthrough to see more Black and brown bodies participate in collegiate sports. If I had one thing to say to the Black 14, it will be thank you for putting forth a path and treading a path where now I have the ability to be the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. Without those gentlemen and what they went through, I don't know if I sit in this seat today.
From a very early age, education was the key. And to see what we're doing as a Black 14 through the Summer Social Institute is amazing, because we're educating students about the real world. I was fortunate enough to have my one nephew, Jace Crockett, come last year, and this year I was able to bring Corey and Grimes. They are two young men that are growing up before my eyes. They were very quiet in my mind, but once they got here, I think the Institute brought them out, and for that, I'm blessed. The students that they meet here will be lifetime friends, hopefully, and that'll be part of the legacy of the Black 14.
I can say that I'm truly grateful for everything that's happened and everything that will happen. I have a lot of gratitude for the commitment and the passion that I'm seeing across race, across ethnicities, across gender, that have embraced not only the concept, but the spirit and ultimately the inspiration that we've brought to them of what this has evolved to. So I'm glad that I'm still on the journey, and I hope I'm here when we write the last chapter.
Cowboys to girls. Oh yeah. I remember when we used to play shoot 'em up, bang bang, crazy.